Okay, Sree Iyer also joining us on the broadcast. Appreciate you being with us on the broadcast, sir. Your first opinion on what we're hearing from the court so far.
A few contrarian views as opposed to what most people think. I think Aadhar in its concept and the way it has been executed is good for the country. You do need to have a national ID system, and not everybody pays income tax, so PAN card does not fulfill that requirement. Not everybody drives a car or a motorcycle, so a driver's license cannot do that. So something like the Aadhar card, the UI, I'm sorry, I don't know I can't get the acronym. It is a must for us, UIDAI.
UIDAI, yes.
The important thing I'd like to stress at this point is when they are taking biometric information such as a fingerprint or the retina, I would like to see everybody give their retinal information as the authentication data, because that does not change for your entire life. It is a little bit more complex in the sense that it is a little bit more expensive to take somebody's retinal signature, but once you have that, that is for the life of that person, that never changes. Fingerprints can fade away. You know, if you burn your finger, your fingerprints fade away. And any other, biometric, for example, thumbprint, can also be not that effective.
Okay.
But the retinal thing never changes. So that's something that I think is an implementation phase. The other thing I'd like to also see is that the Aadhaar data itself, the servers, that should be within the geographical limits of India. It should not go outside the country. It's very, very important, because that is essentially the identity of every individual. Even if it is going to be kept only for a certain amount of time, the data itself should always stay within India. That's my input.
All right. Sree Iyer, you wanted to come in?
The government made it a money bill. I'm just trying to put myself in the shoes of the government when they decided to make it a money bill. There was a time when nothing was getting done in Rajya Sabha. Everything was being, filibustered, like stopped. There was noise. Everybody was, at the drop of a hat, the opposition was coming into the well and not allowing any business to take place in Rajya Sabha. And there must have been a sense of urgency that the government felt that, okay, let's go ahead and do this. So I would like to suggest two things. Number one, the government should not have used this as a money bill, fair enough. But number two, the most important thing, the Rajya Sabha members need to agree on a code of conduct. If they are going to disrupt the proceedings or they are going to walk out, they should give up their pay for that day. I think this is the least they can do, because right now, when disruption happens, nothing gets done, and then the same opposition will turn around at election time and say, look, the other government didn't do anything. I mean, this is not what you've been elected for. You have a job to do, you have a role to play, and I would like all the Rajya Sabha members and the Lok Sabha members that they should take their job much more seriously. About deleting data from their databases, it might be a little bit difficult because it is something that is not easily done. Okay. However, there are ways to make sure that that data is not accessible. Yes. For example, to the kiosk store that you go in your mall to get your phone changed or something like that. Yes. They can make sure that that doesn't appear there. The other thing they are also doing now, and I know this for a fact, is that somebody trying to access the Aadhaar data from outside the geographical boundaries of India is denied access. Yes. I mean, they have a way to find out, because when you try to access the web from your home computer, it's like there is a phone number associated with it. It's called as IP address. There's a unique address. Okay. And using that, they are preventing.
All right. I'm going to have to interrupt you there. Soli Sorabji joining us live on the broadcast. As well, this is a huge development. Sree Iyer, do you want to comment on this? Supreme Court, it's absolutely historic what the court is actually allowed for. It's a landmark judgment. They're saying that live streaming of all cases in national interest, cases pertaining to, questioning clauses of constitutional validity, etc. All of those cases are now going to be subject, to live proceeding. There is obviously going to be a caveat. There will be some discretionary power that will be exercised. Guidelines are yet to be framed, but in principle, the court has allowed for it. What are you making of these developments?
I think that's an excellent thing. I have two things to say.
Yes.
The same concept should be extended to not just Supreme Court but also to High Courts and probably even one level district courts also. It would be nice to have that.
Interesting. Will it actually apply to other courts? Yes.
Yeah, and 5 minutes or 10 minutes delay is a little too long.
Okay.
I think it should be more like 10 seconds.
Yes.
Because why you put a delay is because if there is some untoward word being said,
then
unparliamentary
those
word
can be
uttered.
okay. Okay, fair enough. Sree Iyer, any opinion on what the guidelines should be, what the guidelines are likely to be, because that's going to be everything. The finer print of these guidelines is essentially going to sort of explain to us or help us better understand what this verdict will actually be in its actual form.
Yeah, so what I would like to see is just a small subset of things called as in-camera proceedings.
Yes.
That is, what are the situations under which you have to have in-camera, meaning that it will be only it will be not be streamed, but it will be only inside the court. And that's sort of a small subset under these conditions that these things shall not be streamed, but the rest should be allowed to be streamed.
Okay.
That would be the right thing, I mean, in my opinion.
Well, absolutely, an identity of litigants being protected. I mean, that's extremely crucial as well. A lot of times, a lot of cases, are extremely sensitive in nature. So, in a certain sense, the court is like we've been saying, going to have to tread that fine line of discretion as well.
Yes. I completely agree with you. I mean, there are, let's say there's a rape case or a murder case where some gruesome details are going to come out during testimonies. You don't want that to be broadcast. I mean, absolutely. So these are the defined set of steps or conditions under which the streaming will not be there. But for the rest of it, they should allow that. In general, something like this is going to give transparency to people to see what is going on. There will be, a little bit more efficient operation because there will be a conscious feeling, I'm on TV now, I need to do right, things like that. So it's a good thing overall.
I know, Sree Iyer, you've been waiting as well. Do you think that these need to apply retrospectively? Would that be a welcome move? People who've linked their Aadhaar to phone numbers or in this case to PPF, do you think now that data can be deleted? You had a point to make about that earlier as well.
Yes, I was trying to explain that and I think we moved on to something else.
Yes. Please make your point.
I have a contrarian view on the two issues. One is linking Aadhaar card to bank account.
Okay.
I'll take my personal example. I'm an NRI, okay, and I do not have an Aadhaar card. But if I have to do any, if I make any money in India to pay the income tax, I do it through my bank account, but I shouldn't have to have my Aadhaar card to do that.
Okay.
For that, I have my PAN card. Okay, so PAN card takes care of that. If I have a company in India, then there is a GST number and GST account.
Okay.
That takes care of that. So in some ways, for banks, Aadhaar is redundant, at least in my case, okay?
Okay.
In terms of
so in
PPF,
your case, Aadhaar is redundant. Fair point. You want to quickly come in on the retrospective point? Do you think all of this will apply retrospectively? Your quick comment on that, and I have to go to our next caller.
Yes, retrospectively, I don't think data will be deleted from the servers, but what they will do is they'll change the client software, the thing that you see on your screen, so the kiosk in your city will not be able to see it. That's all going to happen.
Sree Iyer, this is an extremely crucial point that Naman Pugalia has been raising here on the broadcast, that no private entity, no corporate can come out and demand Aadhaar, authentication or an Aadhaar card or Aadhaar details from anyone. However, if there is a government regulatory body in the sector that demands it, then it will have to be put into place. Do you think now that this interestingly has a flip side wherein government regulatory bodies could step in? Or do you think that, the verdict of the Supreme Court is pretty final and it's unlikely that anyone is likely to throw a caveat? How are you looking at this happening? Because it could open, another dimension.
I'm looking at it purely as a parallel to how the Social Security number works in the United States. Okay. So the Social Security number is a number with which somebody associates what is called as the equivalent of the Provident Fund. That is directly associated with that number. So if I draw parallels in India also, if you want to have Provident Fund, that number, the Aadhaar number should be linked with that, because that is the one thing that is always constant, whether you work in a job A or job B or job C. Now, the other thing that Aman mentioned about the regulatory bodies coming in with rules on how or where, which point it is going to be mandated.
Yes.
You know, these things, they will have some exceptions and they'll have some rules. I think we have to see how these things come about. But I'm confident that the way this is going to play out, it is going to be easier rather than more difficult. And if I could just add one more little thing. Now, the way the Aadhaar data was collected was we had to all go to a place and then stand in a line, get ourselves fingerprinted or, retina scanned. Now, this can be made easier. For example, in schools where they come and give you vaccinations, when you are in the 8th grade or 9th grade, you get these vaccinations. As a part of that, they can also have the students enroll for their Aadhaar cards.
Okay.
Because after that, so what happens is instead of you going to a place, Aadhaar comes to you. And that's why you can
That's an interesting point that you've raised. I do want to, however, issue a clarification that Aadhaar linkage has nothing to do with the education that you can get in the country and nothing to do with any exam that you may or may not sit for.